Yo, what is up YouTube? JRL back at it again with another reaction video today. And today, we got a special one on the horizon. This one is by George Janko. It's called Alex Hormozi, Peace or Power, episode 158, part 1. So, there's going to be two parts. This just dropped as I'm recording this, so I'm just like, all right, let's tap in. Let's see what they're talking about. If you know Alex Hormozi, like I said, this man is a business guru. I said that in previous videos. This man is the business guru. He know how to get the marketing down pat. He know how you should be scaling. He got a book, $100 million models or something like that. I didn't copy it, but I know he did a launch party for it, and that was part of the launch party. So I do want to get the book eventually, but who knows? It's up in the air, you know. But George Janko, I don't really know too much about him. I know that he is a follower of Christ, so shout out to my brother in Christ. You know, beautiful thing to know. If you follow Christ, just know you're set for eternity. You are set for eternity, you know. So, enough being said, we're going to dive into this video and check out what they're talking about today. Like I said, the title is Peace or Power. So, let's get it.
So, like, I can talk as ounce of potential that I have to serve the most amount of people.
What is it that is at the center of your universe that changes you for the outworld?
I have strong...
What is in the center of your universe? Drop it down in the comments below.
Not come prepared enough to dish back to you what I feel is worthy enough for you to ponder.
Which one do you really believe in your heart of hearts? And I was like, in my heart of hearts, I just don't believe it.
Well done, man. You got me.
I'm just playing, I don't fight, I do pray. I only go the way of Mr. Yahweh. Correct me, step in my own ways. Why would you take advantage of that? No way. I gotta get out of my own damn way. Hey, what's up, guys? Just before we start this episode, I wanted to give you guys the good news.
We're not
the
gonna
heart of
sit
David.
here for that.
Like, not even listening to me, they'll be over here, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna be, interviewing Alex, and they just put their phone down. They go, he's changed my life. And I was like, oh my God.
That's really cool.
So you've done a lot of cool things, and there was one thing my friend said about you, and I right off the rip, I want to say it. He goes, in every interview, any clip, any media, when the camera's hitting him, he's always the same person. And that is a crazy, crazy compliment. Because even myself, I wrestle that. Even on my own podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying so hard here. Like, I need to tone it back. And you told me that this podcast was going to be a little nerve-wracking for you because of, like, you don't tap into to that emotional side. Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I can't tell you how grateful I am that you said that, because since last night, I'm, like, researching a lot about you, really diving deep, asking questions. And I just said a prayer.
Is that not weird?
God, I just want
people?
him to be wanting to have a deep conversation with me. And the fact that the first thing you said, like, no, I'm ready. And I said, hey, if there's anything you don't want to talk about, you're like, no, anything you want. And so, like, I guess we'll start with this question. If you could have all the money and power in the world, or just peace, which one do you lean towards?
It would be all the money and power.
Okay. So I'm leaning towards peace.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I were very different on this
Money
table.
and power?
But there's a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
have to
things
go
that
with
you've
money
done
and
that
power,
my
you know?
bloodline hasn't accomplished. So let's
world-
just put it all on the table. Why is
The world is based off of chaos. We love chaos. So if you have money and power, it's like you're the forefront of the chaos. You get to dictate the outcome of each side. You know, in his case, he wants peace, but if I have the money and the power, I can take your peace away. I could take your peace away, you know. So, not saying I will, but I have that choice because I have the money and the power. So I'm just saying.
And so I remember wrestling this with this when I was coming of age. And I thought, I looked at a bunch of scientific literature, like who are the happiest people? So I was very happiness obsessed for like many years of my life. My mother struggled with mental illness, and in the family, there's a bunch of bad stuff. And so I was like, well, I want to try and get ahead of this. And so the people who had the highest subjective well-being ratings, there's one group that's like 4 standard deviations above most of the population, and that's a certain sect of monks that meditate for like 10 plus hours a day. And so they just have like completely, right shifted the graph in terms of like where they all sit. They're just operating at a different level of contentedness with the world. And so I was very strongly considering like, okay, well, if peace is the goal, then that is the clear path. I can just go be a monk and just do that. And that is the most proven way of doing it. And when I thought about that path versus, let's
Do
take a
monks
Steve
exercise
Jobs
daily?
or a Musk or a Bezos, whatever flavor you have,
I think they do,
of
but I'm
the
not sure.
impact that those people had on the world, and sometimes to their own, I would say, great sacrifice, I would prefer, I think maybe on some other level, I would rather get to the end of my life knowing that I had helped many people. And maybe that is a backwards way of getting to my own peace. So it would depend more in terms of how do we define peace. But
That's why I want to find
Yeah.
the root of it.
Yeah.
Because when I listen to you speak and I see your metrics on where your theology is, dude, you build men. You wake up in the morning and your compass is pointed to like how to make my neighbor happier, faster. And so in my brain, that is a level of peace. Like, I know you sat down with people that I even look up to, Tony Robbins, and all these other type of people will say, helping your neighbor, there's a source of peace to it. That's why I asked the power aspect of it, because I guess my question is, are you sacrificing yourself? Have you put yourself in a position that you're like, okay, well,
What type of question
me
is
and
that?
my
Are you
family, we've
sacrificing
wrestled
yourself?
with
What
these.
type of question?
So if I'm going to keep wrestling with it, let me be the one that wrestles with it, and not
I'm
my
not
neighbors
him,
and the
so
ones that
I
love.
don't know the
I
logic behind
think
it, but
I would say that I have a willingness to more than the actuality of it. I think that I live a very blessed life, if I use that term.
Yeah.
I do what I am good at, and I enjoy doing that thing, possibly because I'm good at it. And I would say that if you were to ask my team who interact with me on a daily basis, they'd probably say like, Alex is a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
I enjoy my life. That said, I think there's like, let's call it 90% of the day when there's whatever mode we get in when we're like doing things. And then there's maybe the 10% of your life or 5%, whatever percentage is for you, that's maybe you're a little bit more introspective and you're like, why bother? What's the point of all of this? And I don't think that anyone really has the answer. And of course, there's theological answers to that. And I don't. My mother's a born again Christian evangelical, so I was raised in this. And during that 5 years of like the happiness studies that I did, I had a trunk at the bottom of my bed, big trunk, and it was filled to the brim of just theological books and specifically apologetics, so defense of faith for Christianity. And so I got very deep into that because I thought maybe I can logic my way there. Maybe I can like make a bulletproof argument case for Christ, mere Christianity, some of those types of books that are kind of like the tip of the iceberg. But to go back to the original question of like, do I feel like I'm sacrificing myself? No, because I think that if you sacrifice yourself, you're giving up something. And I don't think that I've given up nearly as much as many people have given up for me.
And you don't have to answer this if
Yeah.
you don't feel comfortable, but congratulations on you're about to be a father soon.
Yeah.
Does that realm of
What?
sacrifice
He's gonna be a
there, like,
father?
does that enter in your mind? Like, usually when a man is about to have a baby, he's always thinking of like, okay, I should, like, for example, you say this to men, work out now, get on your grind now,
Yeah.
because later on it's going to be harder, because you won't be able to sacrifice that time. You say you don't sacrifice, but all of your time and energy if it's for money and power. And I feel like you're smart enough to realize that you're not taking that with you.
Infinite potential energy that you can transmit into whatever you want, or peace. And I can do a hell of a lot more with power and money. And a lot of people will have a negative connotation to even the words power and money, but power and money can be used to build hospitals, save countries, save people.
Yep.
Peace can save me. And maybe in the, like, I think it's a bit of a, like, have your cake and eat it too. I think that if I had infinite power and money, I could
You will
help
have peace.
a godly amount of people, and probably also achieve a certain amount of peace and satisfaction for a job well done.
I just want to know what the root of the seed is. Like, I see what your tree is, and it's very fruitful. I mean, I can even tell by your own teammates. Like, they're all happy, they're at peace, they're excited to be here. You can tell when somebody's in a good place when they're working. You're saying to help your neighbor. To help your neighbor for what reason? What stems in your heart the benefit of helping your neighbor? Because remember, me and Tony were cheesy, but we do it to receive peace.
Sure.
We do it like, okay, like in our way of life, God says, love God with all of your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. I'm gonna dig deeper into that because loving yourself is tough, like especially when it's your own career and you have to monitor that. And I would love to dive deep into that. I would actually like to learn from you. But what is it? Like, what made you so hungry for you to go do this? Because from everybody else, from their perspective of them watching you, they're seeing your success. But when I'm looking at you, bro, I see a lot of lonely nights, a lot of tears, a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot going into what you're doing.
Can I ask why you see that? Because I don't have any lonely nights and I don't cry very much.
He got him. I was just gonna say the same thing again. I was like, how do you know that he goes through lonely nights, suffering, like, and he just hit it on the nail on the head. Like, how do you know? How do you know I go through this? You just see what I project. Besides, shit. Hold on.
And so,
My apologies.
do you think that's a projection of what you think I am or how I am?
Spam
versus
callers,
I think
bruh.
it's a
Come on now.
projection of. You're right. It is a projection because I don't know you. So that's me assuming, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But I guess from where I've sat in my life with people that I look up to, not people that I'm saying in a rude way, I've seen them sacrifice, cry, and build. And I feel like I'm building somewhat of what you're building, not at the same level, but yeah, I've cried and I've been frustrated and I've sacrificed. But the end goal in my brain is when I meet God, I wanted my art to touch lives. So I that gives me the motivation to push through my pain. And if you don't mind me asking, if I kind of want to take a travel back, how is it that you don't cry and you don't feel emotion towards this?
It's not that I don't feel emotion. I think it's, I mean, I cried the day I got married. I would just say, like, I cry less often than maybe other people cry. I don't see it necessarily as a deficit. What is the correct amount of crying? You know what I mean? And does the amount you cry have any relation to how happy, sad, in touch with anything
No,
you are?
I feel
I
like
don't know.
everybody
I feel
goes
like
through their own
I
healthy
cry a
mix.
lot. Not in a way where like I'm a sad person, but if I see you're going through, so for example, I saw a video of you crying, looking at your wife.
Yeah.
I would get emotional because I'm like, my goodness, what a blessing that he found somebody he loves so much.
Yeah.
And then I would also get emotional.
I would say almost exclusively tear up for happy things.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
sweet.
So I get choked up for happy things, for gratitude is usually where I get very, when I see pictures of like how I came up, I can get like choked up because I know how much I suffered at that point compared to now and how hard I was pushing to get to here.
Can I touch on that?
Sure.
Was there a place in your life where you said, hey, we're done crying?
No. I think I teared up or choked up on the podcast I did with Stephen Bartlett, who was one I was talking about Layla. But no, I don't think. No, I don't. I also have no positive or negative judgment on crying.
What's up, guys? This video is sponsored by Exter. All right, so I've been packing for my trips, and I also want to bring my own merchandise. And all I had was made like a credit card. I could not believe 50, but durable, bro. This is the nicest zipper I've ever seen in my life, though.
You asked a question earlier about like why. I can't remember why what. Oh, you said me and Tony do this thing because we seek happiness or somebody to that degree.
I just want, because we think of an afterlife of like what we're accounted for here.
Yeah.
You're so, the levels that you're at, I've only seen when people are chasing something that is bigger than them.
Yeah.
So to watch you speak in such like a humble way, like a child, like walking into a room and just analyzing it. Well, one, you're good at it. It's like very good at it. And the second is like, that's why I asked the peace thing, because what is it? Like, okay, there's a verse in the gospel.
Yeah.
And I think about it when I think of you. What is it worth to gain the whole world, but then lose your soul?
Totally.
Now, I'm not saying you're selling your soul.
Or that I've lost it.
Yes. But I'm saying, what have you done to nurture it?
So this is a really good example. So there's two words that we've thrown back and forth, and most people would nod their heads and say like, oh, I know what they're talking about. But if I were to say soul and you were to say soul, or I were to say peace and you were to say peace, I don't know if we'd say the same thing. And so we're using this word as a construct, and this is why I like language so much, is that like, and this is where miscommunications happen. And like there was one with, Tony at the very beginning of the podcast, I say pain, or I say suffering, he says pain, he defines it differently than I do, but we actually do mean the same thing, but it makes it apparent conflict, right? And so
Perspective.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like, what does peace mean to you? Maybe my definition of utility might be peace for you.
Fair.
I don't know.
Let's see. Let's define that right now. My definition of peace. My definition of peace. My definition of peace is kind of boring. It's like you live this boring life. You don't do anything. Nothing is like, you get all your basic needs met. Like, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You just operate solely on the bottom level. Do you have food? You got food. Do you got water? You got water. Do you have shelter? You have shelter. And that's it. Like, that's like the base. Peace is like the basis is covered. That's how I see it. I don't know how other people may view it, but just for me, like, peace is just the basics of the hierarchy of needs is covered. And that's like survival at that point. The survival of the fittest, survival of the moment, peace. You want peace, just operate solely in that realm. Now, if you want anything else, you have to operate outside of peace to get it. You have to. Anything you want, you gotta adhere to power structures to get money. You gotta become a power structure to get money. To get influence, you have to, dabble in other people's business. That's not peaceful at times. Like me, this creating content is not peaceful. I'm diving into other people's business. Since when is diving into other people's business peaceful? You watching this video, you diving into my business. You diving into my business of me diving into other people's business. Since when is that peaceful? I'm just being real though. I'm just being real. Since when is peace, ever an option? Because I don't ever see it as an option. That's just me. But there's some people that do operate in peace. They just go about life, they live it, and wake up, live. Eventually they done for the day,
And that's your version of peace.
And utility. I will be at peace when I do that. It will also be my point of maximum utility. I will have been made useful.
Maybe
I
my
see myself as a
definition of
tool.
peace will evolve later.
I'm
But
interested
right now,
in it
it's like
because
that.
That'll get taken off context.
oh, buddy, yes, you are. No, I'm kidding. No, but
Yeah.
this is so fascinating to me because I think, like, okay, to watch somebody be as hungry for serving others and being like the utility for others, they're usually basing it off of something greater than them. So if you have nothing greater than you, then
Well,
what's
there's many things greater than me.
okay?
Yeah.
So what is it
I
that
don't hold myself on a pedestal.
I wouldn't?
Okay, I just
You don't come off like that at all.
Okay.
When I meant that is like a higher power. Some people it might be Buddha,
Yeah.
and some people it might be Jesus. But in my brain, that has channeled them to go farther in life than by themselves. And so when I'm asking you the power of peace thing, usually people say, "Oh, I want power until it reaches peace," or some people say, "Oh, I do this so I could have peace with my family."
I'll answer your question. I spent basically 5 years in the pursuit of peace or happiness or satisfaction, whatever version of that word, and we can get more specific if we want to, but and that was unfruitful for me. And so I decided to forego the path of chasing happiness and peace and started chasing something that I could do rather than something that I could feel. And when I started shifting all of my behavior and all my learnings around what can I do and focusing on only those things, I started getting satisfaction as a result. And so then that became a huge shift in my worldview of like, I will just focus on the things that I can see with my eyes and do with my hands. And that's basically, and the reason I think the books and the content, things like that, is that I only describe the world in words that people can understand with their eyes and their ears and their hands. And that's what allows for really clear communication and a high percentage of communication translating to the other person. And this is why I think I would say that if I were ever against anything, it would be vague language. It's just terms that people use that sound good, rhetoric, putting words together that alliterate or that rhyme.
Very much somebody. You're very much somebody who likes to take things in charge. Would you say that you were a little bit of like a control freak when you were younger? Like you needed to like figure out how something worked? No? And do you find it
I'm the opposite.
really?
Probably.
You like feel like you can like be hands off and let things
I have high standards. That's my job, is to hold the standard. But no, I also see control as the equal opposite of freedom.
it like restricts
Like you cannot have, if you want to have absolute control, you can't have, like if you want to control every single thing in your business, then you're also controlled by your business. Like you will not be free. Unless in a lot of entrepreneur, not to get too far into business, but like a lot of entrepreneurship is giving up control at different levels. So in the very beginning, you do everything. And so then you have to relinquish control on some things and give them to other people in order for you
Bro,
to rise up.
that's
and
how
do the
you
next
know,
thing.
bro.
Yeah,
How
I
you
think
know
that's
the
what I
business,
struggle
bro.
with.
That's okay, bro.
Actually, it's so funny. Like something I was dealing with Belle today. I think that I have a hard time letting go. Could you teach me how your brain adapted to holding the standard, but not letting it control you?
And clearly defining it. And so typically where problems happen is where you're like, you get what I'm doing, right? Okay, I need you to do it. Most people, so to answer the original question, which you guys do these things because of a higher purpose, etc. My worldview is that we do things because we've been rewarded for doing them. Period. And
What
so
happens if you stop getting rewarded for it?
you stop doing it.
Yeah.
Can I ask
That's
you?
a good take.
I
I
always say,
like
can I
that
ask you a
take.
question? I'm just gonna stop saying that. If there's every question that I run into.
I like
Okay,
that
so what
take.
happens if your wife stops doing that for you?
If she stops what?
Rewarding you in the ways that she used to reward you with. Because time grows, everything
Yeah.
changes.
Then whatever things that I was doing that got reward would eventually go extinct.
Do you feel like that could be catastrophic to the relationship?
Totally. I think a lot of marriages suffer from that. I think lack of appreciation is like the number one reason people get divorced.
So how would you reframe that from happening when everything evolves?
So there's levels to this, right?
And by the way, I'm only asking you as a student,
oh no,
not as like somebody who's like, got it.
I love this.
Okay,
So like I
cool.
can talk as much as you want
Okay,
about this.
that's it.
So we also create these rules. So I'll zoom out. we have a personality. I define personality as how we act in different situations. So if you take the aggregate of every situation and how someone acted, you could derive their personality. We then, because I couldn't tell you every single situation, every single behavior, we then create labels that chunk up that behavior. And so we give a term, he's a control freak, he's whatever, because it's easier to say that. And then the person who hears that has a series of behaviors associated with that one word, and then thinks, okay, I think I know what that person's talking about. And fundamentally, this is how language works. We bundle and unbundle terms. And so I'll give a third grade level one for the audience, which is if I were to look at a 5-year-old and say, hey, get better at basketball, there's nothing they could do with that. You can't get better at basketball. I could then break it into, okay, you have to pass, you have to shoot, you have to dribble. Get better at, passing, shooting, and dribbling. Even there, still kind of hard. Underneath of passing, I might say, okay, I want you to take your right foot and I want you to step towards the person and I want you to extend your elbows and I want you to finish with your thumbs down and leave your hands there and have the ball go to the other person. If the person catches it in the motion that they're traveling, then you did a good pass. That is something that a 5-year-old can do. And then if I break down shooting and I break down dribbling in that way, then they're going to be able to have something that they can do. And then in aggregate, later, they'll be described as a good dribbler, a good shooter, a good passer, and then eventually a good basketball player.
Somebody was at the door.
So that we don't say, do good job, and then expect them to guess and get it right when we couldn't even define it for ourselves for them.
What you're describing to me is like pattern and potential. I always talk about this with people. An example I'll use is dating. A girl will fall in love with a potential and not the pattern. She'll skip the pattern, not see it well.
What do you mean by pattern?
For example, he has an anger issue, and every time they bring up this type of argument, he snaps, he reacts, he apologizes, she forgives, he moves on. But because of the forgiveness parts there, she forgets all of the other stuff. So when it recycles the pattern, she doesn't see a pattern, she sees potential. If he is like this, then I will be happy. And when you're describing the basketball thing, from my perspective, is that you're very good at seeing patterns and understanding what is structured and what is not structured. This doesn't give you anxiety in your head?
Zero.
Because of so many of them going around?
Zero.
Dude, you're an interesting human being.
I'm a very low stress person.
I've never been this interested for buckle in, my man. Dog, what does this mean? Okay. All right, I'm just gonna talk to you like a homie.
Yeah.
You understand patterns more than anybody, just from sitting down with you. I'm like, this dude's a robot. Like, you know everything about. If I hung out with you for maybe 3 days, you would know me inside and out, and you would know how it worked. You know where I fall short. I know people like you. So for my question is, I know people like you because they're very successful
No, I
people.
know you
Anything
do,
I say,
that's
if it sounds disrespectful, just
I
punch
don't
me
take
right
it
in the
that
face.
way. I'll round up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Don't round house.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, then doesn't it alarm you that we see many men that are tested with a lot of money and power, and they end up not having a great ending to their career or life because it overtakes them? Not saying it's you, not saying it's me, but since you've seen the patterns, what are you doing to stop you and your household from being extinguished by what is power and success?
So I would, in some ways, define that as a money-aholic.
A money alcoholic.
So if you think of like any kind of aholicisms, any kind of addiction, it typically is when the reinforcement loop for whatever the behavior is, whether it's drinking, drugs, it's swearing, whatever, gets in the way of your larger goals. And so if you can drink, but it doesn't interfere with your marriage, your work, your social life, then you're a responsible drinker. And for some
Functioning
people, that might
alcoholic.
be so to me, again, there's the medical definition, but I would say the way that I would see the behavior is that if someone has zero interference, so if it's not affecting their health. Now, if it doesn't affect anything else, but it does affect your health, then it's aversive to your long-term goals. But if you find a way, it's very difficult, obviously, because it does have aversive effects on your health, but just to use a simple example. But if you found a way to drink that somehow didn't impact your health, and you were able to do so regularly, and it didn't impact work, life, marriage, whatever, then I would say that you are not necessarily addicted, because in a negative way, because nothing bad has happened. And it's not taking anything away from you. If the pursuit of money, right, which in the Bible is the pursuit of money, that's the root of all evil, not money itself. If the pursuit, or rather the love of, but whatever, if that cycle becomes too reinforcing that you neglect your other duties that, like your marriage or your kids or your health, then that is when this thing has become too powerful.
So then I think I made a mistake by asking you like a Sophie's choice, power or peace.
Yeah.
But if you were, that was a terrible first question, by the way.
That was great.
If you're staying here,
Yeah.
thanks for bearing with
I
me.
think if I said I reject the premise would have been
Yeah.
a tough first response.
That would have just been a cut. Okay, so then in your household,
Yeah.
what is it that you envision, and what is it that you? Because like for mine is to love God and to love my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Is there rules or a regulation that you live by?
I would say Layla and I have agreed on, I mean, a lot of things, but a big one, I think that's a credo of ours, is leave it better than you found it. And so that's people, the earth, all the employees of our company, all the customers, anyone who interacts with us, if we can leave them better than we found them or they found us, then we will be a net positive overall. And that means if we go to Whole Foods
And it comes to even off chasing money so that, you know what I mean, it doesn't overtake you.
Yeah.
Who do you think keeps you accountable? Do you feel like it's only yourself that's keeping you accountable? Your wife? What if one of you guys fall short of that?
and even though, like, again, not to like reject the premise, but like it's not that I chase money per se. The options were peace and money and power, which I see as potential or self-satisfaction, like ability to save millions of people, or just helping myself. This one I can have my cake and eat it too. This one I would just help me. I'd rather do this one. In terms of my daily activities, I chase things that I'm interested in, that I'm good at, more than anything. Like, why? Like, I mean, I think the core of the question that you originally asked is like, why do you do what you do? I do what I do because I'm rewarded for doing it. That's why I do it.
Hey, this video is sponsored by 8 Sleep, and I've been using the Pod 5. Check it out. I've been missing the one thing that everybody kind of been telling me my whole life, like sleep is everything. And I've been trying so much things, saunas, gyms, eating, doing all this stuff. But what happens if I can't sleep well? Well, I just added something to my routine, and I think it's pretty exciting. If it excites you, check this out. 8 Sleep came out with
Anyway.
this smart mattress cover that comes with tech that is
It's burnout, for example. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot.
I get burned out a lot.
So this is really interesting. And then you might find this interesting. So
He's like, they're stupid people. I was like, should have been quiet there. Should have been quiet there.
no. So burnout is just when the cycle of reward that you're accustomed to either becomes too latent, so too far in advance, not intense enough, or you habituate to it, or it stops happening. So there's all four of those scenarios are basically like what used to feel good when you do something doesn't feel as good now that you've done it 100 times. And this is basically the hedonic cycle. And so it also works in equal opposite, which is like if you punish a child or you punish anyone in the same way, eventually you habituate, you get used to it. And so in order for punishment to be effective, you have to change variety and intensity of punishment in order for it to keep working, right? And so again, the same thing happens with reward. And so when we get burned out, we used to do these things and we used to get this satisfaction out of it. And now I do these same things and I don't get that same satisfaction. And so we feel burnt out. So basically it's the experience of an extinction curve on a behavior. Now, where it gets tougher is where you have other contingencies that make it difficult for you to leave. And so you have competing priorities. And so it's like, let's say you have a family who relies on you. And you had this job, and when you started it, you had to do these activities, and it rewarded you. But over time, people just started to expect you to do it. They stopped saying good job, or just the nature of the work. It no longer was challenging for you because you got so good at it that it wasn't, again, the challenge itself is rewarding when you overcome it. So there's lots of reward cycles that happen on a daily basis. But anyways, as you continue to work, now let's say the job is zero satisfaction, but it still pays you. And so there still is a reinforcement that occurs. And reinforcement just means anything that makes a behavior happen more. That's it. Anything that does that is a reinforcer. And so getting paid is a great reinforcer for doing something, but it's still all the other reinforcers in the job might have gone away. And so your family might have expectations, which also rule following for you as a global thing, because I have an identity as a good father, a good provider, that I have a rule that if I were to not provide for my family, it would be against this rule I've made for myself. And this identity, this label that I've scribed for myself. And me just thinking about the fact that I am a good provider gives me reward. It reinforces me. And so what happens is when we quote like shift behavior over time, it's we create a label. Like what you want if you want to change someone's behavior is you give them a label that they can live up to, and then you align the actions. You do this, you are this type of person.
What do
And
you
then
mean?
eventually they begin to do other things because they like the label, because the label itself is reinforcing. That might have been a little too heady, but like
No. I totally understood every word of it.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so then
I don't think I
who
did.
is to say that what
I
they're
don't think I
setting
did.
for their mind has a good morale to it?
above my pay grade.
Okay, so that's where my question is.
I don't play in shoulds.
So what happens if from 5 years from now, everything that you're teaching your students is something that you don't believe in anymore?
I think it would be unlikely, mostly because like I try to root everything that I teach. If I make statements, I call them fight me statements. Like if more people know about your stuff, it is more likely that they will buy it from you. Like no one can buy something from you unless they have found out about you first. Like these are statements that I will not disagree with in 10 years because they are just factually true. There's nothing like fight me. That's what it is, right?
You said fight me?
Yeah, like
No,
they're
I'm
fight me
okay.
statement. No, but it's just like they're
I saw you without a shirt.
no. They're non-disprovable statements. Like they're true statements. There's nothing that would change.
Do you have a mentor, someone that you still learn from?
Like the first thought that came to mind when you said that was the market.
Like the S&P 500?
Yeah, I'm just watching.
Imagine dudes like,
Dude,
yo,
just
teach me this
watching
market.
candlesticks all day. No,
Teach me this
That's
S&P.
so funny.
no, just feedback. Like I
Oh,
would say,
feedback.
like my mentor is feedback. Like where do what do you consume the most of? Like I consume the most of data. I consume the most of what we're doing and how it's working. And that's what I spend my time
It's a
on.
fair play
Yeah.
that you said consume, because I agree. I feel like whatever anybody consumes, they worship it. So if you said you had to worship one thing,
How do you define worship?
submitting your life to it,
Okay.
and also fearing it. Like there's a lot. Okay, let me give you my worship.
So I would say
right?
submitting your life. What does that mean? I know this. Like
No,
we're,
I
we're
love
getting
this.
in the
No, I
like
love this.
yeah.
You're not gonna dole me out, bro.
Yeah.
The deeper I get, it's like, bro, I love it. Like,
Okay.
and I wish that more people did this.
Yeah.
For worship, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I'll lay it down for one word. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So in the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, if you fear me, wisdom will. But then once I feared something greater than me, that gave me life, my actions fell through. Kind of like, when you said the basketball thing, hey, extend with your hands.
Yeah.
I didn't need to have him say extend your hands because now I'm just following him and I'm watching what his hands are doing. So who are you, or what are you worshiping in your life?
Oh, so many. So
That was actually I like what he said, George. George, you did a good job explaining that. So that was beautifully said. I commend you for that. That was beautifully said. And I'm not gonna lie, in my faith, I don't think I feared the Lord as much as I should be fearing the Lord. I don't even fear myself, like, not to say I'm vain or conceited or anything. I don't even fear myself as much as I should fear myself, and by his definition, fearing to submit to gain the wisdom, so I don't fear the Lord. I don't fear myself. So what do I fear? So you probably asking, Joshua, what do you fear? What do you fear? And I probably fear YouTube. Not gonna lie. I probably fear YouTube. I like worship YouTube. Like it's weird. I don't like I said I don't fear the Lord. I don't worship myself, but I worship YouTube. You know, I spend like hours on this freaking app, you know. Uh I mean, that's not to say I don't do other things, you know. But it's not one thing I submit to. So, George, you said that beautifully, and I like that. So,
When you do something and no one else is watching, and you know that you are adhering to what you say, you believe, that feels good.
What's up, guys? This video is sponsored by
what's up with all these ads, man?
Guys, a lot of the conversations that we have
Grand
on this
Canyon
podcast,
University, that's in
it has to do
Arizona.
about faith, but a lot of it also. More. And I appreciate that. But I also see people in the gospel. And by the way, like, it's hard for me to bring up the gospel when there's a lot of people that are like, I just don't even want it on the table. But my viewpoint is biblical. So when I look at the gospel and I see a man that has a relationship with God, he never was able to get there mentally by himself. He was never able to get there faithfully by himself. He got there because he asked. And so there's a master above that says, okay, now I'll give you the wisdom to see me. When Jesus was sitting with his disciples, he didn't say whoever has ears could see. He said whoever has ears and want to see. And whoever has ears and wants to hear. One real God activated my life. As so as I feel I believe in him more than the two of you that are sitting right next to me. And I actually see you, and you're tangible. But there's a spirit side to it that makes me submit now. Now, that I don't want to be weird, but there's a different approach to looking at God versus not just using my eyes. That being said, that is my God. I change everything to it. It changes me as a husband. It changes me as a businessman. It changes me as a friend. What is it that is at the center of your universe that changes you for the outworld?
So, this is lovely, by the way. No, I'm enjoying this a lot.
I do. By the way, I've never had this much fun already.
Oh, good.
I am so interested in you, and I'm at awe with you, bro. Like, I've watched a lot of your work. What I love about you the most is how truly, truly honest you are. And the way you speak, I truly feel like I'm sitting with you and I'm talking to you. A lot of people put on a mask, including myself. I'm not just pointing fingers. Sometimes it's hard to take the mask off.
Yeah.
And I like that you're mask off.
So I define authenticity as how you'd behave if you could not get punished.
Okay, so I love this. I had a conversation with God about this, and I said, I don't know if I love you because of you and all of your works, or that I might go to hell. And I came to a conclusion that that's off the table, because hell was never really meant for me. How I see it is an invitation. You can invite me to your house and teach me about your mind and how it works, and I could accept that invitation or not. Now, that would be very dumb of me if I have a business and I don't sit with a man who teaches other men how to do well in their own business. That would be my fault if I reject that offer. So I don't see it as like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm punished, because a true man of God is all free for me now. Because I'm adopted into his family, I see myself above the law. And I know that sounds a little weird. Let me explain it in a theory that I have. You have a son, God willing, soon. Or is it a girl?
Can I ask you a quick question before
Yes.
we get into it? Do you ever do something and you feel ashamed of yourself?
Used to.
Okay, so you feel no shame.
So, used to, and I still wrestle with it, but it's not my identity as a Christian, because in the gospel it says there is no condemnation. Sorry, there is no condemnation in those who are in Christ Jesus. Why though? Because whatever I did that was wrong was already paid for. That's like, look, the example I was going to give you. If you had a son,
You would acknowledge that you did wrong and you'd wish you had done better, correct?
yes.
It wasn't a gotcha question.
Oh yeah. But I don't live in condemnation. And I
Okay,
want to make
yeah.
that very clear.
More like you experience guilt, you experience shame.
Yes.
You do something and you're like, I could have.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. There's always room for improvement.
Right. And so fundamentally, I just see that as I see guilt as breaking one's own rules.
Yeah.
I see shame as breaking someone else's rules. Sometimes you can feel both if you break your own rules and someone else's. Sometimes you do things alone that you would be ashamed of, but you don't feel guilty afterwards.
But
Right.
okay, but
Sometimes you feel both.
where's the boundaries?
And sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Where's the boundaries? Like, who's setting the law of what's right or wrong? Because what you're
Right, yeah.
praising is right, which I also agree is right, but that came from Jesus. When he came here, the way that he was speaking shocked the world because they were barbarians and they wanted to kill the neighbor. They wanted eye for eye. So when you're saying leave it better than what it was left at, that's Jesus talking. That's his theories. Those are his perspectives. So if you're outside of it, then I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't care about my neighbor. If I was outside of God's
Do you
law,
feel like Judaism doesn't have that?
well, he is Jewish.
No, but it predates him. It predates him.
Jesus?
Jesus.
Nothing predates Jesus.
Okay. Well, entering Earth, right? I mean,
Okay, yeah.
just from that perspective.
So he comes through a
But
Jewish
I would say
line?
that like leaving it better than found it wouldn't be an entirely Christian notion.
Yeah.
And again, and to
Okay,
be
so
clear,
who gave the law
I'm
to the Jews?
And I was about to say, I was like, and I will not get into a Christian.
Yeah.
Theological debate.
You will know more than me. in
And I
terms of
wasn't
it, 'cause
even
I
going
haven't.
there.
Yeah.
But okay, let's take religion out.
Yeah.
Say you're saying, I feel bad that I broke somebody else's rules.
Yeah.
But what if this guy beats his wife?
Mm-hmm.
That's his rule. Like, if she acts up, he smacks the shit out of her.
Well, he would be breaking the government's rules, and then he would get consequences from the laws of.
But his
humans.
rules are none. So say we're outside of the country, we're in water that, like, snow. They're outside the rock. So what I'm saying is, where
Yeah, so
does your...
it's on a pirate ship, to be clear.
Yes, we're on
Okay,
a pirate
we're on a
ship,
pirate ship.
and these pirates are ruthless.
Yeah,
And on this
okay.
boat,
Yeah.
he goes, hey, if my wife acts up, just smack her across the face.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm not going to do that.
yeah, because it breaks your rules.
Yeah. I see what you did there. 'cause it breaks my rules. Okay.
And I think you're asking the same thing that I was kind of asking earlier. It's like, who keeps you accountable?
Yeah.
Who's the judge?
And to me, that is like reality.
Reality's the judge.
Yeah, when I said the market, it's just like if every time I go into a room and I hit Layla, for example, I probably won't have many people who work for me. Layla probably also won't like me that much either. And so if I would like my wife to like me, I probably shouldn't hit her.
So it is a form of, like, you're kind of working for relationships. You want to make sure that you're doing stuff for you to have things. It's a...
Like
I
gratification?
just had a light
or
bulb
like
moment. I'm gonna let them
I mean,
cook
it is
though.
your
I'm gonna let
words.
them cook.
But you also said that you would walk away from something that doesn't provide
I think
you
people do. I think people. I didn't say I was going to walk away from marriage because I have other commitments, right? So I have rules that I follow for myself, which is if I say something, I will follow through with it. And if I were the type of person that wasn't that way, then I would no longer like me as much. And so, like, when you get married, I define commitment as the elimination of alternatives, right? Like you have eliminated all alternatives besides your wife. That is the commitment, right? And so, in terms of who keeps me accountable, like there are the rules that have served me in my life, and I think that I have gathered. And I use the rules, the term rules loosely, just as if-then conditional statements. Like if I do this, this happens. So there are these decision patterns, if you will, that I've collected. I do something that didn't work out too well. Probably won't try that next time. Do something else that works out pretty well, which is why I say like my overarching worldview is that I do what I do because.
I don't mean to cut them off, but I do. The title of this video is probably going to be Christian Warrior fights faith with new information. And then it's gonna be the actual video reaction. That's gonna be the name of this. Yeah, that's gonna be the name of it for sure. By the way, like that was a very that was a very strong foundation that they brought up. The foundation they said was who. Well, it was mentioned before, but it really solidified right now. Like I heard it earlier, but it didn't really just like click. But right now it clicked, and it's like, who keeps you accountable? And I'm thinking about my life personally, and I'm thinking, it's like I don't be in my word that much, so is it God that's keeping me accountable? I don't know if it's really God keeping me accountable. Like I said, I don't be in my word. You know, is it me that keeps me accountable? You know, I tell myself I'm gonna do things, but honestly, I don't keep my end of the bargain going. Is it family that keeps me accountable? And I can think it is, but there's disrespect attached to me and the family on either side. Not gonna lie, mostly on my side, but on either side is disrespect towards family and family towards me when it comes to accountability. So is it them keeping me accountable? And I'm like, I don't really know if it's them keeping me accountable. Is it my phone keeping me accountable? Does my, like, the work I'm doing, does my phone sit there and tell me and say, hey, do this, and that, and I follow it? Well, first off, the phone is just an extension of me, so if the phone is telling me like complete tasks and I'm not completing the task, then that's like another version of me that's not being held accountable. So what is it? Am I just not being held to a standard I'm not being held to? And how do I navigate that? How do I grow from being this? Because clearly I'm still stuck in this childish way of thinking. I haven't grew up yet. I have moments where I grew up, but I'm not solidifying. I'm not solidifying myself in my own life. So I don't know. Like I said, this title of this video gonna be Christian Warrior. What I say, Christian Warrior struggles with new information or something like that. Whatever I said the first time, it's gonna be, that's where it is gonna be. And then it's gonna be the title of the video, and it's gonna say reaction. So I got the title mapped out, but like, yeah, I mean. If you're from Chicago, you know, yeah, I mean. I love when Alex comes to business, but he seems so numb when it comes to emotions.
Where I would say
Been
becomes
saying
against
this since
some
he
of
was
the
on the
more,
iced coffee
ephemeral
hour
spiritual
years
worldviews
ago.
is that I see
It
doing
seems
as do.
He's a
just
hero
by
for
hater.
some
It's like,
people.
I would say that you hate your wife.
John Hoover 2397
think
says,
that you've ever fallen
have to
short
agree
or
with
something
Alex
you're
at
trying
the
to achieve?
end there,
Oh,
being a
of
Christian
course I've
now,
fallen short in things
where
that I've
it's
tried to
the
achieve.
dominant
So would that
religion
make you
versus
that,
the
or
early
something that
Christians
just
being
fell short?
fed to animals and crucified
It wouldn't
for
make
their
me
beliefs
anything.
is
It
on
would
in this podcast.
Hold on. The
I
creator
agree.
of the universe
I
comes
hope
on Earth
and pray you
here
continue
in
to
front of us
succeed
and
in
says,
this
I made all this,
endeavor.
demonstrates that
I
we know
look
beyond a shadow of a
forward
doubt
to more of
that
you, your work
this is
in the
God.
future. More
You're
you
asking, would I
work, more
submit
your.
to the
Is that?
creator of the universe?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes.
Did I see Caleb?
Respect for it.
Yeah.
All right,
Again,
he
I
wasn't
grew
in the
up
comments.
right?
He wasn't in the
That I have
comments.
such respect for it that I think that the 95, maybe that's probably being
And just
generous,
Vlad the man
99%
says, "Oh my
people that
God,
identify as
George." The interview on.
that's what
I
you think.
agree,
And they're
bruh.
like,
We
well,
gonna
I mean,
like
bro, I
that
mean,
comment. Shout out to him.
but I mean, I wouldn't go.
Who said that comment?
Got it. So you're not
Femi
a Christian.
FTW.
And so I
W
have such
person.
respect for it, deference for
W
it.
human
Like if I were
being.
to say I am a
If you're
Christian,
artificial
then it means
intelligence,
that
then that's
and I did have this for a period of my life, and it did change my behavior dramatically. whatever level of motivation you think I have now, it was 10 times bigger. And I remember having a desire to make money that was way bigger than what I have now, by orders of magnitude. I remember reading a book called Kings and Priests, because I originally, when I came to the faith, I think I was 22-ish. I think it was right in there. I was like, oh, I guess I should just get into ministry. I should spread the good news. Like, this is amazing. Like, who doesn't want Jesus? Everyone needs this. And I had the pastor I think that I was with at the time. He said, hey, read this book. And it was called Kings and Priests. And it basically said that there's different roles for people in the kingdom. He's like, you're clearly skilled in this business stuff, and you have a knack for it, you have a loving for it, whatever. You should probably consider, like, make the gold, donate it to the kingdom, like allow the kingdom to flourish. And so I was very dedicated during that season of my life, which was like, okay, how can I live on 10%, donate 90? How can I, like, every single day I would wake up and make an entire loaf of peanut butter sandwiches so that on my way to work, every homeless person that I saw, I could roll down this sounds silly, right? But I was 22 years old, and to put this in perspective, like, I wouldn't take my shirt off during that period when I was at, like, a pool party, because I didn't want the other guys to feel bad. Again, not in an arrogant way at all. I was like, I just don't want, I was like, they will
coming from
feel
humility.
worse. Yeah, I was like, they will feel worse. And who am I serving here? Am I serving my ego by taking my shirt off? Like, what am I, you know what I mean? And so I was 100% all in, 100% submitted to Jesus, to God during that season. And there's a number of reasons that I fell away from that, but I define belief as acting as if, and that seems like it's like a pretend, but I don't mean it like that. It's more that if an alien comes on Earth, doesn't know anything, and I were to describe a true Christian's behavior, so they could say, this is a Christian, then they would behave as if Jesus was the Son of God and died for their sins. And again, I'm not saying there is no salvation through acts. I understand that. But if you really, in the Bible, it's truly changing your heart, right? Which I see from a literal sense as changing your global reinforcer, is that when I was in this period, all acts I took was pleasing my Father. And so all I could think about was pleasing him. I cared nothing for man. I cared for man to please my Father, not because I cared about what the other man thought. And so I would say that a large percentage of behaviors that I learned in that period of time is how I act now. And I think the reason that of all world faiths that exist, the one that has always had a stronger pull for me, that Christianity has been the one that has always had a stronger pull for me, is because it's the only, like, this is, and I do not mean, this is in no way am I trying to insult anyone's faith, to be very clear. Like, the vast majority of religions, when summarized, could be determined in, could be summarized into, if you do good things, you will go to the good place. And if you do bad things, you'll go to the bad place. They are works-based faiths. The difficulty with works-based faiths is that when you're 51% good or 49% bad, if I held one more door open for an old lady, I go to eternal bliss, and one less door open, then I go to eternal damnation, which also seems like an incredibly man-made construct of you live a finite life and have infinite punishment for it, or infinite good place. So the only faith that doesn't have that, there's two that I would consider. There's Christianity and there's Buddhism. Buddhism's, I would say, less faith. It's considered a faith, but it's different. Whatever. But because Christianity acknowledges that it's a silly game and you'll never win. You'll never be perfect, ever. And so it's only through acknowledgement that you will never succeed at being good enough to merit eternal paradise, that only through admitting that you'll never be good enough can you gain.
It fell in my heart, and I have so many things I'd like to share with you.
Yeah,
Because this
yeah.
walk that you have is, bro, like, I can't tell you, man, like, how many times it's left my lips. Like, your heart posture right now is an honest one. And I'll hang myself out to dry. I know I am known as a Christian, but I've looked up at God and I had some pretty serious questions for him. And you know what? There wasn't one he left off the table. So there's a few things I want to say off of what you said. And I'll make it very quick. I don't want to be in a tangent. Many will say, Lord, Lord, haven't I done this and haven't I done that? And what does he say to them? He says, depart from me, I never knew you.
Revelations, no? I'll chew out. You were lukewarm. Is that around the same passage?
This one's in Matthew.
Okay,
He's basically
sure, yeah.
describing how there's going to be a lot of people, that 95 that we talk about,
Yeah.
the percent, that says, I'm a Christian,
Yeah.
but did not care for their neighbors. They didn't care for God's will. Now, you said kings and priests. I want to circle back to another thing in the gospel. There's a parable, and this king forgives this man's debt. And the guy runs. He's excited. The first person he goes to is a man who owes him debt. And he goes, give me my debt. The guy says, I don't have it. Now, the king could have sentenced him to death or jail, maybe even both. The guy who didn't have anything, that man who left the king, beat that man senseless. And so one of the guards goes, do you know that guy you let go of? He went after another man. So they bring him back, and he goes, why do you not live as if you're free and that you can make others free? That is where I'm from. When I realized, like you realized, that, well, hold on, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for everybody else? Where I'm positioned now is, as I get to do it, I know who I really am. Only you know who you really are. We could turn on these cameras all day, and we could say the finest things, and we could put it in the most beautiful ways, and people could be set back, but we could also be wolves in sheep's clothing.
And that's beautifully said too. But he was just reciting the word. You know, I'm not sure exactly where that is in the word. Like I said, I don't be in my Bible as much as I should be. You know, but when I do read it, I do read it. So, but that was beautifully said, because he also said that only you know who you are, right? And I'm sitting, I'm thinking, and I'm like, do I really know who I am? Do Joshua really know who Joshua is? That's hard. I can sit here and look at my reflection, or even look at the mirror. It's literally a mirror right here. You know, look at the mirror and think like, yeah, I know who that guy is. I know all his quirks. I know all his talents. I know all his beliefs. But no, that's not true. That's not true. With only through conversation with myself do I learn that. Only with conversations with myself do I learn about who I am in the moment. And that may not even be true in that moment. It might have been an old belief that I thought about, and it's just surfacing up now because the belief I now have is substituting it. What do you mean? Now, you may have a favorite color. Any color in the world. There's trillions of options, trillions of different options of colors. Like there are trillions of different options of sales. You know, and you may be thinking, yeah, my favorite color is such and such, right? But why is that your favorite color? Did you not consider other colors to be your favorite? Do you have more than one favorite color? Was that your favorite color because the way an object was presented, the shine of the color is what made that color a special color? Or are you just still trying to hold on to the belief of when you first said this was your favorite color, it was your favorite color? And that's just something to think about. And since he brought that up, that's what that made me think about. So I thought that was interesting.
You and probably ask you for wisdom to be a better businessman, I pray that you'd feel comfortable with me to ask me things about the gospel or in a spiritual sense. So I'm not here to shame or point or say my life is better than yours. I mean, if we're counting it from an earthly perspective, you're wildly whipping my ass over here, bro. So it's not like that at all. What was one thing that was hard for you to wrestle with when it comes to really believing that there is an actual man named Jesus that died for us?
I would say that there are two.
George up in that bit.
Thousand years ago and died for our sins, and then rose from the dead and ascended to heaven. It's very difficult for me to believe it. And I went to a Christian therapist during this period of time because it was such a struggle for me. And after a handful of sessions, she looked at me and she said, "Alex, I think you just need to make a decision." And it was
Sounds like she's trying to wrap it up.
yeah. She was like,
That's a terrible thing for a therapist.
I am not getting paid enough.
Hey, buddy, our time's up.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And so she was like, "Well, which one do you really believe in your heart of hearts?" And I was like, "In my heart of hearts, I just don't believe it. I was like, I really wish I did.
Dude, I love that you said that. All right, I'm gonna bring up another verse. There was a Lazarus dead, homeboy.
Yeah.
Homeboy, right?
Yeah.
5 days for that miracle to happen, right? Okay. We got the disciples. They're pissed.
Yeah.
Jesus, our feet hurt. We're exhausted. He's always telling them, "Hold up, it's coming."
Yeah.
There's one miracle in the Bible that happens like this. You know who it was? There was a man that came up to Jesus and says, "I don't believe this. Could you give me the faith to believe it?" Then Jesus bestows him faith. Jesus also says that I am the vine and you are the fruit. Apart from me, we can't do anything. So when you say, "I believe," when you were walking with Jesus, did you ever ask him, "Hey, like, I'm seeing this on the table. My eyes are looking at it. You say whoever has eyes and wants to see, and I want to see."
Yeah.
Did you find yourself in a position where you just didn't want to see it?
No, I think I desperately wanted to see.
Desperately wanted to see it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a
So
very arduous search for many years.
So, okay, now I have follow-up questions. You're very analytical. So everything you see, you study it. So I'm assuming when you say the crucifixion to me, it's hard to believe. Did you by any chance look at Caesar was in his time, right?
Yeah.
He had
There's historical
2,000.
documentation and yeah.
There's 25,000
Yeah.
of Jesus.
Yeah. No, like The Case for Christ, which I don't know if you've read that.
Yeah.
It's a awesome
No, I
book.
haven't read it.
Oh, it's the premise is there's an atheist trial attorney who's really famous, and he goes to disprove Christ. And so he goes on this search, look at the historical documents and disprove it, and makes a case against Christ. But in the process of making the case against Christ, he becomes a believer. And so I read his book, and I was like, I get all of this. I just still don't believe.
Is it a? I'm so sorry.
No.
Is it an inner feeling thing? And I know that
No,
you're very much not about feelings.
I get what he's
but-
It's not
saying.
about feelings.
I
think
get
it's
what he's
it's-
saying. I wrestle with that all the time.
It's a question
bro.
of, do these feelings serve me? How do I translate these feelings into what I'm going to do? And do those actions increase the likelihood that what I want to have happen is going to happen? I'm translating this into very literal terms because
See, hear me out. I can't sit here and say yes, this man exists when all that I knew, when I started existing was the only thing I knew of. Everything that happened to me and started with me is the only thing that clicks in my head. So anything before my time doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to me that some people call him Jesus, right? Some people call him Yeshua. Some people call him Jeshua. But it's so crazy to me that in the Bible, in the dictionary version of the King James Version, right? And I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up right here. In the King James Version of the Bible. This is the Bible. Holy Bible. It's kind of inverted, so let's see if I can. Where is it? Where is it? Right there. Can you focus? Anyway, I'm gonna just read what it says. It says Joshua and Jeshua. The same name. We share the same name. The creator of the universe and I share the same name. Thing about this is, though, I'm the one that started my universe, so I didn't die and for anybody's sins on earth because I'm still here. I didn't die for anybody's sins yet. Is this a prophecy for me? I know I'm thinking too heavily about this, and it's just no, your parents just thought they were Christian and you should have this name because it's a nice name. But no, it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. At least I wanted to think it goes deeper than that. But then I can't think there's somebody outside of me, outside of my existence, that says, hey, I created you in the likeness of your parents, in the likeness of their parents, in the likeness of the parents before them, and etc. That I thought about you so long ago that you exist today. And not only did I think about you, I thought about your brother, I thought about your cousin, I thought about your neighbors, I thought about your neighbors' neighbors, and I thought about all the animals and insects and things that have life on Earth. I can't sit here and think that that was anything outside of myself. But I know I don't have the knowledge in this human brain of mine to conceive that. So you may be asking, so if you don't believe, right? If you don't believe that Jesus was sent to earth to die for our sins and he is the Son of God, what do you believe? And I'm here to say, I believe that it was just a part that we share the same how I'm trying to be as honest as possible. We share the same lineage. The stories they talk about Jesus, they talk about me. But this is just in the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm. Books are either two things, fact or fiction. Yes, there's subcategories of things, but it's either fact or fiction. Books you write about now is either a fact about your life and your life, or the life you're writing about somebody, or the life you had in the spiritual realm. And this is an old book, but I think this is non-fiction, but it has fiction qualities. What do you mean? I believe that this book is purely fiction, but the truth is it's about somebody's spiritual life, spiritual realm. And you can challenge me on that. Like I said, I'm not a theologian. I don't study the word every day. But that's just something I believe in. And if you want to talk to me and spread the word and spread the gospel, I mean, be free to comment that down below. And while you at it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because we're pumping out content and we living the best life we can live. Because this is just my first life, like it's everybody else's first life. So you can sit here and debate that, yeah, I was here before on this earth, but low key, in that body you have, this is your first time living in that body. So you're on the same playing ground as everybody else. So that's just me.
Totally. And I don't even mean that way. I mean it in the way of like that absolute, because you were a Christian for a few years and you're saying your mom is
Probably about a year. But
okay. So
Oh, that's why.
I'm saying this.
Yeah, you're like,
It has to be 24 months.
bro, you didn't hit the
know
threshold.
at the time.
You turned. Yeah.
But that interlocking feeling, because I think like I did not grow up Christian and not have
You
faith
did?
before. No, I did not.
You didn't? Okay.
I did not, and I found faith in my early 20s. I feel like the seed was planted when I was 16, but it took me time, right? And for me, what kept me for a long time, even though I had people in my life that showed me that proof, was that inner knowing of truly believing what Jesus did, that Jesus is real and that he is God. It was that like really understanding. And so it wasn't until, I mean, that's a different story. So I was.
But I also have had experiences where there was like divine coincidence. And I don't know if that's my higher self. I don't know if that's a God outside of me. I don't even know if that's the kingdom of God within me. I just know that divine coincidences occurred, and I was like, dang, that really happened for the benefit of me. And I took advantage of that and used it to the best of my ability. So I didn't mean to cut her off.
I was all in.
Yeah.
There was no question.
There's
I was a
something.
100% believer through and through.
So what was it? Okay, but hold on. To me, I'm having a hard time understanding that. How could you be 100%, but at the same time doubt Jesus'
Well,
existence?
I would say, one, I think that many Christians speak about their doubts while they are still believers.
Yeah,
What
that's
is your
true.
form of Christianity? So we don't lose each other here.
Evangelical.
No, I mean,
Yes.
what makes a man a Christian man?
Would you rather work remote or in office? Your friend works in office.
That he would act in accordance to God's wishes.
That's not at all what the gospel describes. Because if that was the case, we're all cooked.
I'm describing it the way that I would describe it now.
Got it.
If you were to ask me then, I would say that his heart has been transformed by Christ and he's given his life to the Lord. Right? And he's completely submitted and
Ow.
Jesus is his king.
I think that being a Christian is believing in Jesus. That's it.
Sure.
So falling short is a part of the process. I think.
And this is where, like, when I said I had two things, right? There's lots of small ones. It's like, okay, of all the planets on the earth, is there a Jesus in Neptune's 27 that also showed up there to, like, save all the, Ewoks or whatever? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, right.
I'm not against that, man.
No, yeah. I mean, that was
People
my
get mad at me for saying that, but I'm like, dude, there's no way he was just waiting around for 1 billion years, trillions of years. And he's like, all right, now humans are like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's my big pitch.
yeah, he was definitely creating things before that. Yeah, like,
So I described the false binary that Acts creates, which is that you could be 51% good, 49% bad, and then creates this area right in the middle that one more action would have taken you to either forever bad or forever good, right? So I think to the same degree, belief has the same continuum and false binary, which is like you either believe or you don't believe. I believe that belief is a continuum. It's how hard do you believe? How much do you believe?
so okay, where did your belief cease to stop? Like, because you saying I was all in.
Yeah.
So was there a point in
I'd
your
say
life?
that I was all the way here, and then over time, it eroded until eventually I went through more and more struggles, talked to this person for, read more and more books, and then eventually was like, all right, I guess I just don't believe.
But in that process, you did believe that Jesus Christ died and rose
Yeah,
again.
at one point.
And then you started feeling like, wait a second, this doesn't.
And again, and I would I do not espouse or preach my worldview at all. Like, I almost reluctantly, which is what I said at the very beginning of this podcast with you, is like, people see that I'm successful.
I'm gonna take a
however
quick
many,
break. Hold on, real quick.
it didn't work as well for.
I
And
don't
it's
even think you should be ashamed of that.
Well,
feel
less
like you're-
shame,
you're-
more like I don't like. I'm not saying follow me, and I'm not saying like do what I did. I'm saying this is what I did. Do whatever you want. And this is why I'm a big believer in no shoulds. I was like, I'm not saying you should do this or shouldn't do that. I'm saying this is what I did. That's all.
Do you feel because you help so many people in business that you feel like when you speak about spirituality or your faith, that you feel like because that's your brand, that people pick up their, like, whatever they're doing and follow you? Do you feel like you get uncomfortable speaking about things like this because you don't want to slap it as if you are, hey, like telling them? And we're not getting that vibe from you at all.
I don't consider myself an authority.
Yeah.
You
You hear that, boys? Extra lunch break tonight.
No, like I've never really purported to be one. I'm decent at breaking down concepts and trying to define terms in ways that I understand them. And typically, if I define things in a way I understand them, other people understand them too. Which is why, like, even attacking. I use it in a literal sense. Breaking down like belief.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, what does belief mean?
Yeah.
How do I believe? What does that mean? Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show me belief.
I had this conversation with another genius. Like,
Oh.
and by the way, like, you know what I find fascinating? The smarter person that I sit down with, the more complex. We're very choosy with our words.
Yeah,
It's just so
absolutely.
funny
You guys
because you
are
meet
so
a dumb
conscious.
person just throwing out all the words, and you're like, my man, stick to one thing, dude.
Not even talks about that, a babbling fool. So
Yeah.
Alright.
So, by the way, we appreciate your presence. Like, we really do. And there's a lot of wisdom to be learned from. So we don't ever take it in the way that you were worried about it at all. Like, zero. Sorry, I find it but belief. Okay. Belief to me is, a lot of people think that it's like certainty. Like,
Is it not?
belief to me is weighing out what I have in front of me and knowing, okay, this is where my faith belongs to. So I believe.
If you want to watch free brand new movies on your phone, let me put you through. This app can find any movie
That God exists. But I can't sit across from you and prove his existence. But I could examine through the patterns of this world. To
I
me,
guess
the
my
most
definition of
peaceful
belief
and
is like,
joyful, not need humans I've ever met were ones who had Christ at the center of their life.
Agree 100%.
Okay, so let's dissect
I don't
that.
have a
If that's true,
definition.
don't try
I
to
guess I
pretend
have
there's
an
1000%
example. You know,
Why
I
do you think
believe
started
tomorrow
getting
will
into
come,
So, okay, then,
but
Why
tomorrow
do you think I
never
pursued
comes.
that?
if that's the case,
I
you
only
feel
believe
that,
tomorrow
then
will come.
wouldn't
Tomorrow
you say
never
that It's not
comes,
that you
but
didn't
I
find
believe
God.
tomorrow
It's
will
the
come.
sad truth is you just didn't find God's people, man. And
Well, I think that's totally true because
you're
I would
always
say
living it
that-
now.
I think I'm trying to think, when did I come? I think
But
came
I
pretty
know
soon.
yesterday
I think it
was
was
gone.
Nashville. I could be wrong.
What Caleb Gordon said,
But when I
yesterday
went back
gone,
to Baltimore, which is where I was
gone
from
in
and
the
then
past,
ultimately
didn't
worked,
know who I
wasn't
was under that
really
mask. It look
plugged
green up.
into any
When
real
you
call
look
Christian
at that
community, so I was very
grass,
much alone
jealousy
for
make you
most
blind
of
to
that
what you
whole period.
have.
And
I
just
never
basically
trip,
spent my time
never
like in books trying
fold,
to like
never.
keep my faith muscle
Okay, no.
strong.
I be listening to Christian rap
And I
sometimes.
think again,
Yesterday
I have
Gone by Caleb
hundreds of
Gordon. Y'all
study
look
things,
that
and I
up.
also-
That's a
it's
fire
like,
song.
there's a lot of times where
Fire
I don't
song.
even want to bring up the doubts that I have because if it leads one person astray, I don't want to be the cause of that. I like.
Dude, you're a Christian.
You're so
Like, I hate to say this to you, my man, but you might be more Christian than me. Dude, he's wiping down tables, not taking his shirt off. Man, his body, I wouldn't own a shirt. It's gotta be everywhere.
Well, I'd say that if the way I behave now, I do take my shirt off sometimes, and so
Well, you're not a Christian anymore.
Yeah. But it's funny that even when we do that, it's so you describe it by actions, right?
What do you
By
mean,
what to know that I was a Christian by what I do.
Yes, because you shall know them by their fruit. So
Right,
if
you
I
should-
taste your
yeah.
fruit, if I walk around, that's not.
Whoa.
There's so many clips.
Whoa,
Dig it, bro.
buddy,
Dig it.
come on.
Okay, if
Ow.
I tasted the fruit from your garden, I feel like that's
Even worse.
Every man produces fruit. Okay, every woman produces fruit, and you receive them and you eat them. Okay, I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah.
But
Do you observe what I do? Yeah.
yes, if I hang out with you, the fruits that I'm gonna get from you as a businessman, bro, I'm not gonna get it from hanging out with my boys smoking weed on the couch playing Fortnite. If I hang out with you for one day, 1 month, 1 year, it's all gonna change. Why? Because when iron sharpens iron, something comes out of it sharper or duller. It's never gonna be just the same as it is. So if I hang out with you, I'm gonna come out feeling like, wow, I feel really good about my business. Okay, that being said, if you don't hang out with real Christians, then Christ itself
Iron
would
sharpens
diminish.
iron and the
That's why
continents
it's
of
way
his
worse for a man to
friends.
wield the name Christian and not act like Christ-like. And then when you said, but we're basing it off of our acts, I understand that's like where everybody, like even I ask Christians all that, why are you going to heaven? They go, oh, because I'm a good guy, I do this. I
No,
do that.
right. That's yeah.
We're cooked.
We agree. That's
We're
not like
cooked.
that's not how it works
Exactly.
within the tenet of the Christian faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Through the worldview that I have, the only way you can know whether someone believes something is how they behave.
Amen.
And then, of course, it's like, well, that's your personal relationship with Christ. Only you're going to know. Fine. Like,
Well,
basically,
I disagree with that, and a lot
Okay.
of people say that.
Sure. Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of people that claim with their mouth a lot of things, but they're not, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, their actions don't mean reality.
So I do base people off of their actions on what their actual beliefs are.
Yeah, we agree 100% on
Yeah.
that.
What's interesting about what you said, you said you were pretty alone during that season, and I just watched my pastor's sermon this past week. Maybe this was for you, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing back to the fruits, right?
Yeah.
So your faith is a seed, and when God gives you, when he puts the Holy Spirit in you for the first time, when you're a new believer, it's like a seed, and the seed is brand new. Now, the Holy Spirit's in you, but what are you going to do with it? Not because of your own works, but are you going to surround yourself with good soil, with sunlight, with water? You're going to feed the seed so that it can flourish versus, right, if it's in a bad environment, it's going to die and it's not going to go anywhere.
But from his
Oh, here it is.
perspective and what he shared,
It's
he did do that.
27:17.
And
Iron
I was trying to keep that
sharpeth
muscle
iron,
going,
so a
and
man
You feel like you're in a
sharpens
community
the
of people?
contents
That's
of
the
his
one thing
Yeah,
Right.
and
friend.
that was and 1,000% also in terms of my current worldview.
Yeah.
Like if you want to change someone's behavior, change their environment.
Right.
Right? Like, if I, for example, went to, let's say I moved into a town where there's 100% true Christians is the only people that live in this town. Let's just imagine this hypothetical. And I have no way of leaving for whatever reason. The likelihood that I would become a Christian or that I would self-identify as a Christian, I think would go up dramatically. Um, that has a huge weight on whether I am eternally damned or eternally in salvation. And that brings up a question of free will. That, again, I would say that all right, well, screw it. I actually have a hard
We
time
really
with
don't have free will.
because
Oh, what he say? Let's go back.
brings up a question of free will.
Sorry, I cut him off.
That, again, I would say that all right, well, screw it. I actually have a hard time with free will because free will presupposes that we're in 100% control of all of our actions. And you can prove that that's not true because you can change people's behavior by moving and manipulating the variables in their environment.
That's true.
And so I think there's oftentimes the illusion of choice more than there is the actuality of choice. And so even if we agree that a 1% change can occur in someone's behavior through influence, then it means that it's just a gradient, which means that there is a chance that we have 100% control. And if you have 100% control of someone's behavior, then they do not have free will. And so when you get into this argument of like, okay, if I do believe we can influence, if you can influence, you control. If you can control, then the whole concept around this choice for eternal salvation might not be as individual as we have framed it to be.
may I dissect that backwards?
Yeah.
What if you're free in Christ? And that way, when you are free in Christ, you'll be able to see when people are manipulating you. For example, you'll be able to see what the world could posture towards your heart. I think every man is either Cain or Abel. I think one is with the world and one was with God. And so that there's only two doors. And a lot of people think there's multiple doors. But the truth is, God made two doors. It's either heaven or hell. But what the devil did is multiplied many doors and made you feel like you had the option of choosing which one you want to go to. For you, it's business. For me, it's lust. But when we open up that door, it's hell. Why? Because we chose something that we thought is greater than God. And so then when we submit ourselves and our own knowing, so when he says, deny yourself, that means deny everything that you think that you know. And when he says deny yourself, for example, my mom says, you should be proud you're a Syrian. And I said, being a Syrian is great, but I must deny even my Assyrian roots so I could stand naked before God and with a clean slate and a clean palate and say, what is it that you called me to be? And through that is where freedom, which he promises, obtains. But you were saying that freedom of choice is not true. I agree, but they chose to be a slave to that when I chose to serve God.
See, and this is where some of the content that I intake comes into play, and the content that I believe in come into play, because they say once you make a certain amount of money, you are financially free. That's what a lot of people want. A lot of people want financial freedom. You know, that was me at one point in life. I wanted financial freedom. But then, just in this very moment, like this very moment right now, I was thinking like, if I got financial freedom and I was able to be financially free, what am I sacrificing to become financially free? Well, I'm sacrificing the work I'm doing. I'm sacrificing how I do the work to attain the part that I want. So financially free isn't really financially free. Financially free is freedom at the cost of labor or at the cost of thinking or at the cost of hiring. I see it as three things. And it's funny that the Holy Trinity is three things. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Labor, ideas, market. Or not market, hiring, like community. I guess I can say community in the third spot. So labor, ideas, community. Those are three ways you can get money. And it's funny, it's the exact three is like the Holy Trinity. So funny enough, that's kind of interesting to me. So
Which is tough because it gets pretty close to I'll measure them if they're a good person.
What does that mean?
So we take our Amazonian tribe that's never heard anything about Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? They die.
Yeah.
God measures them based on what?
What they know.
Which is zero.
click. You can show this on YouTube. It's just a game, I guess. Click.
That's not true. So let me give you an example. If they don't know anything, then they're just sitting paralyzed looking at the sky. That's
So you're just saying what they know of the world?
Well, no. I mean, like an example. For you, right now, if you are leaving a place better than what it is, you are acting Christ-like. So if you did not know who Christ is and then reject Christ, that's different than a man receiving it and then rejecting it versus somebody who's never received it and then never rejected it. So I think that my God's merciful enough to know that this man in the jungle didn't have Clifton Stewart come and throw out a podcast for him to know.
Is that a Christian podcast? Okay.
For them to know. But what he did see while he was down there with his little mud pallet, he said, hey, when it was raining, he invited his neighbors to come here.
But that sounds like he's getting measured by his acts.
I think he's being measured by what he had. I think that's different.
But I would still say like that's measuring by acts.
Or his not? Would you say it's measured on his knowledge of Christ?
No,
Well, if we assume it's zero,
I would
for the example.
I just think we can't limit God. So if we say, hey, God picks and chooses who's going, that's why I always tell people when like a lot of Christians like to throw out who's going to be saved and who's not going to be saved. And I could
Is that
not.
a thing?
Oh my God. Every time I'm in the parking lot of a church sermon, and they're like, that guy's going to hell. That guy's going to heaven. And I'm just like, yo, my man, that's not how it works. Billy Graham has this funny interview. It was right when the president got in trouble for cheating on his wife. But he still sat there at the table with them. And so they pulled him aside. They go, hey, how could you sit with a man who behaves like that?
Oh, that's silly. Yeah.
And he leans over, he says, the Father judges, Jesus loves, the Spirit comforts. We were asked to act like Jesus, but everybody's trying to do all three. Judging is like falling on your own sword. when you look at somebody and judge, you're truly wielding something that doesn't belong to you. Like, for example, if I look at a man and be like, how could, my mom used to always say this is a perfect example. Don't let God put you in a position for you to know the question you don't want to answer. Like, for example, we look at somebody who's a drug addict in the street. Why would this guy throw away his life and do this? My mom would say, don't let God put you in that man's shoes for you to feel.
Is she Christian?
I was gonna make a joke. Yes, she's very
Okay.
Christian. I was gonna be like, no, super atheist.
Yeah. Is your whole family Christian?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Like genuine Christian.
Yeah. Like, well,
They're the 5%, not the 95.
they are.
They're
They
gonna
were
watch
with me.
this.
They're always put God first. But when I kind of grew up
You
as a
couldn't
man
see
and
her
I said,
face.
hey,
I feel bad
we try
now.
so
She's
hard
probably
in our
been
business,
blocked
we
this
try
whole
so hard in
time,
our
and
relationships,
I feel
and I
bad.
think we could try harder with Christ. I think we could read a little bit more. I think we could, submit our life a little bit more.
I
And
feel
none
bad.
of them rejected it. They all
Don't
jumped on
disrespect
it.
me.
So I do believe that they are actually the real Christians. But I think the difference between a real Christian and a fake Christian is this. And this is just my perspective. Again, I'm not a teacher either. I think one is just Cain and Abel, man. One is like, God, there's nothing that I could do that's good enough for you.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, piss off. Like, I've done as much as I can. And I think that's the posture of the heart of a real Christian man. If any Christian man goes up to God and starts listing what he's done for God, he's not a Christian. If you're not standing before God and truly being at awe for what he's done, if you open up the book to look for yourself, you're not a Christian. If you open up the book to
too
look
bad.
for Jesus, you're a Christian. That's kind of like, but again, who am I to call? You know what I mean? Like, because
I guess I'm not a Christian. I look for myself.
That man, I'd be like pagan.
And he wasn't a Christian.
This
right?
guy's for sure going to hell.
And 10 years ago, you weren't a Christian the way you are now, correct?
I was walking around calling myself a Christian.
But you wouldn't. But you.
I was the guy that you bumped into that made you run away from the faith.
but by your definition, would you say that you were a Christian then?
I would say I was the 95. What you said.
Right.
Yeah.
So many of you will say you knew me, right? But you didn't.
Well, that's when I was walking around.
Right.
Yeah.
And so kind of interesting. So like you've only when is it that you recommitted your life to Christ?
See, I wouldn't even want to say recommitted. It's kind of like a relationship with your wife, right?
Right.
There's a time where she's like just giving you inadequate relationship
Okay.
amounts, like, and then she's like, wow, I really realize what I have, and I'm gonna step up and really show Alex how much I love him. Same person, one's eyes were opened. So I always loved God and I always chased God, but God had to put me in a hole for me to have nothing but him. And then I realized, I'm like, oh wow, this is so much more peaceful. Actually, that's actually something I want to bring up to you. When I was on Impulsive, did not make sense. And I tried to calculate it, try to see the patterns, watched videos on how people are talking, listened to Tony Robbins, looked at all these things. And then I brought it to God and I said, well, why? I don't understand. Why is this guy more peaceful than this guy? This guy's broke and has nothing going on for him. And this guy's very successful. And God made it very clear. This man thought about me more. This man thought about God. I think Jesus is life, and life more abundantly. Now when I look at myself, I don't see myself as a Christian or a non-Christian. I see myself as a cup. One was kind of empty, running dry, and Jesus kept having to refill it.
If you were the 95% though, in that season,
Yeah.
calling yourself a Christian but not really acting as one,
Yeah.
like we said earlier, if you had died then, not now, right, or in the future, assuming behavior stays the same, etc., where do you think you would have gone then?
I think God is all-knowing. So I think that it's his right to judge
Okay.
on how it plays out. But
Based on what we were saying earlier, if the 95%, most of them would be people he'd be like,
it's
You
hard.
did not know me.
It's hard because I see it as kind of like a seed that was planted but just wasn't producing fruit. It was there. It's kind of like that, right? It didn't produce fruit, but it started producing fruit.
you can see how I would say, like, from a pure, like, us talking about a perspective, it's
Yeah.
playing both sides.
I would say that I would go to hell.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of?
I would say I would agree with you from your perspective.
I'd agree with you after hanging out with you for an hour. For sure going
From
on
your worldview, if your worldview is true in that period, I would agree with. And that would be the perspective that I had as a Christian.
The only reason I agree with that, and it's hard for me to say that because it's like scary. I just threw myself hypothetically.
Dude, the
down.
comments are gonna go.
Yeah, right. Oh, bro, they do all the time. I stopped caring about that a long time ago because it just was eating me up. It was changing how I felt. But Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, and there was one time where he gets really mad, and he curses down a fig tree. Do you remember this start? And I used to giggle at this all the time because I used to look at it from a comedic standpoint. I'm like, my man turned 2 fish into 45, and he's getting pissed at a tree and submitting it down to the ground. And all of his disciples are in the back, be like, yo, Jesus, you good, bro? What's going on? Why are you so angry? You know? But I figured out why he was angry. When he ruffled his fingers through the leaves of the fig tree, there was no produced fruit. And he curses the fig tree all the way down to the ground, and it dies. Then he goes to Jerusalem, where it is mirrored as a priest, as a fig tree. And producing fruit is spiritual. So that was dressed like the Pharisees.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be dressed as if they have a lot of fruit,
Right.
which I believe you've bumped into. And then when you go and you taste their fruit and you're like, yo, this is whack. After eating enough whack fruit, you're going to start believing that the source is whack.
I actually didn't fall away because of meeting false Christians. I think I could recognize that pretty easily. I came because of true Christians, and I would say that I left because of my own beliefs and struggles that I had to in earnest say that I believed 100%. And I think you said something earlier about people think belief is certainty. That to me, like certainty would be 100% belief. And then there is like high conviction, which would be like 90% belief. And I think that people sit on this spectrum. And I think part of the reason that I've had difficulty with the Christian faith, and this is the second point, is that if you can have works that are 100 to 0 in terms of good guy, bad guy, and if you're at 49 or 51, to the same degree belief can be on that same continuum, and to what degree, like when have you known God enough? How much belief is enough to go to heaven?
A belief worth changing for.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Simon, who was renamed Peter, got crucified upside down.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume he really believed.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I think that, there's Assyrians recently that when they're on their knees with swords on them, and they say, hey, denounce Jesus or we'll cut your head off. And they say no. To me, that's belief. I don't believe it in a spectrum of like,
I would say fundamentally we get into the difficulty that I have in general,
you
which
need to
is
see the numbers.
well, not to the numbers, but just like when we define words in vague terms and we make equivalencies, it's like belief is love. It's like all of a sudden it's like we're in this world of all these words that we're
Could
like,
you
okay,
measure love?
Word jargon.
Oh,
well, just how much are you willing to do to maintain something? If you love, like, what are you willing to give, sacrifice in order to keep something?
so like, for example, that's how I feel about Jesus.
Yeah.
Like,
You're willing to give everything, your life.
Yeah.
There's soldiers who love their country and are willing to give everything, their life for it. So I would say that they love their country. I love my wife. I'm willing to give my life for my wife.
okay, so you just ran into a place where you're like, oh, I just don't believe it at the level.
Right.
I
And
should
do I like people less than my wife? Yes. That I'm willing to give something for? Yes. Am I willing to give my life for? No. But there are things and people that I'm willing to give my life for.
Students with ADHD save 10 hours studying with this Chrome extension.
But no.
Life for. And so, again, I do believe that there is a continuum that we can describe. And I think that it makes it significantly more convenient to chunk up to vague language because you'll get amens and nods in the audience because it sounds good, But I live in defining the amorphous. Like, this is what I spend my time doing. And I believe that all things we can translate into, like, what does this mean? Like, if I say, you look at your kid and you're like, I need you to love her. he doesn't know what that means, or she doesn't know what that means the first time they hear it. You have to then describe what love is, and you describe it in actions. And then eventually you say the word love, and it's just like dribbling in basketball. It means all of these behaviors. Now, I measure love by how much I'm willing to give up to maintain something. If a friend moves away from close by, let's say I'm friends with my neighbor, he moves far away. If I stay in touch with that friend, I'm willing to basically incur more cost in order to maintain that relationship. I love that or like that friend more. I see it as the same continuum. Whereas if they move away and I'm not willing to be inconvenienced anymore, then I don't like them that much. If they're here, it costs me less, and so I'm willing to do it. And so I think, again, all of this sits on a continuum of how much I'm willing to give in order to maintain something. And if you're willing to give up your life in order to maintain your relationship with Christ, then I would say you're willing to give everything. And that's amazing. And so I think love, if we're using love as belief, but I don't necessarily think they're equivalents. I think acting as if would be belief. Then there is a spectrum, and this is where I struggle.
I just meant the measurement.
Yeah, and I would say, but those are both continuums, the love continuum, the belief continuum, and people sit on different ones for different things. Like, I'll give you the most basic example. There's probably a country on earth that if I said, Caracas, right? It's the capital of Brazil, right? Or it's the capital of Venezuela. Maybe the Venezuela one, you're like, okay, I think that is the capital of Venezuela. And I'd be like, if you get it wrong, she dies. No, how much do you believe that? Like, I think it's that. It's like, yeah, how much? Are you willing to bet everything you have on it?
Yeah.
Probably not. But you're willing to say, I think it's that. And so there are degrees of belief, and I think the same exists here. And this
I agree
this is where
100%.
I'm saying, and like I struggle with this because like I don't want to make a convincing argument.
No.
Which is
what
why
you're saying is
because I don't
very,
want
very
people
on
to
par
change
with what we're saying.
I like do whatever you're doing.
No, it makes total sense.
I agree. I 100% agree with what you're saying. I think that's why there's a lot of fake Christians, because they get up to that point where you're like, would you die for it?
Yeah.
And not even, dude, there's a lot of people that say that they would die for Christ when they don't even live for Christ.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's so much
Bar by the way.
Yeah, facts.
Redder.
Dude, you
That was
made that clip
facts.
so much better. And then it cuts to me eating his fruit. I'm like, I didn't want that in the video. But I think that's the truth of it. And so I would actually like to push back on you. And this is my first pushback on you.
Good.
I don't believe that you believed in Jesus with all your heart.
I think that you are wrong.
I like to build a relationship with you off of this and sit with you, and if you would let me pray with you on this. And I know that's very uncomfortable because you kind of like just let it go, but I love you, dude, and I know that we just met, but I really care about you, and I care about your mission. But if I had to listen to your words or Christ's words, I would assume his is.
I would tell you to listen to Christ.
So when Jesus says that the good works that I start in you, I will finish. And so he says there that if you are a Christian, you can't fade away off of being a Christian.
And if that is the case, then I am already saved. I've been, then I am already saved. If that is true. And my mother will be thrilled.
Can I put a hope and a prayer out there?
Sure.
Dude, I envision, and I'm gonna be praying on my knees every day for this, but I pray that there's an encounter that you have, bro, that is mathematically, it's above your understanding. Like, it's so far past measurement that it's no need for the conversation of if or not.
Saul becoming Paul.
Yeah, man. And dude, I just want to let you know, like, I've had the privilege of sitting down with a lot of cool people, and this conversation is, you have me wanting to go back and meditate and assess myself. God. What I feel is worthy enough for you to ponder. So the only thing I could do is petition a prayer. Well done, man. You got me.
Oh, no.
No, I'm giving up my faith now.
I was like, I would have given my life during that period of time for Christ.
I still think you're on the journey, man. Don't side question me. I know you're still on the journey, bro. You know why I know you're still on the journey? Because I think you're just an honest man. And I think God deals with honest men. I think the fact that you could sit here and be like, no, 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 I fleshed this out. I think the truth is one day all knees are going to be bowing, willing or non-willing. And I think when me and you are going to be sitting there, we're going to be looking at him. I think that in your brain, you're going to be like, oh, I missed a piece, not angry at him. And I think that's the difference between you and a lot of people that I not that I give up on, because I never want to give up on a neighbor. But I do know that when I was in a place where my questions weren't being met, I was honest. And I had those questions with God. What, this guy's 4 years old, never prayed to you, never got baptized, now he's burning in hell. Oh, hell is eternal. So even if I do reject you, it's forever and always. I had the tough questions, but my God had the tough answers. I tell people this, don't go to God and tell him how big your problems are. Show your problems how big your God is. And I want, dude, when I look at you, I don't see a problem. I see an opportunity. I see like a mountain, bro. And Jesus did tell me, you could tell this mountain to get up and move. And I am sitting in front of the world, and it might even be embarrassing myself, but I want you next to me in the kingdom, bro. Because, dude, there's people that I sit next to that claim that they're good people, but they don't.
And the Lord's Prayer. Let's go to it. Let's turn to it real quick. Since we have the Bible already open and we talking about good faith, and the Lord's Prayer, right? It says, "Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven." That right there, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So he's putting that out there that he wants to be next to Alex, Mr. Hormozi. He wants to be next to Mr. Hormozi in the kingdom of heaven. But I'm going to challenge him and say this. He was already with him in the kingdom of heaven because he's here with him on earth. Once again, it says, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. They're aligned with each other already. They're aligned whether he wants to see it or not. In the Lord's Prayer, it says, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So George, Mr. Janko, you're already doing what God called you to do. Alex is already with you in God's life, in God's light. Not life, light, Light. So don't even stress about it. Don't even worry about it, because God has your back. I have my back. And everybody has everybody else's back. So I guess we can, how much time we have left? I guess we can finish it. Little 3 minutes? Yeah, why not? We can finish the little 3 minutes.
I could see Christ in you without you even seeing Christ in you. And so when you said, would that kid die, if he died in that place, would he go to heaven or hell? Equivalently, would you, if you died, go to heaven or hell? I won't know, because I don't know what God did to you. All I can say is this. When Moses stood in front of Pharaoh, God used Pharaoh and Moses, but God only knew Moses. And so I don't want you to harden your heart towards God.
I don't think I have.
Well, all your muscles are.
No, I don't like, and I would say that I have strong beliefs loosely held, right? And so
Strong belief, loosely held. Wow,
Yeah.
that is a term. Strong beliefs, loosely held.
That's a bar.
Strong beliefs, but that could
something
sway if
yeah.
something.
I have to.
Yeah.
Like, the nature of my life is learning, and I define learning as new condition, new condition, same condition, new behavior. And so, like, if I receive new information, the conditions have changed, and I can change my behavior, which obviously I think the internet has tons of issues with, anyone changing anything. But I think that I remember I went back home a few years after I got on my entrepreneurial journey, et cetera, and I went to someone who was close to me at the time, and they were like, "You've changed." And I remember they said it as an insult, and I remember pausing for this moment, and I was like, You haven't. And it was just this very interesting exchange that I had. And then I was just like, yeah, I want to be the one who changes.
Yeah.
And so I have no, and this is why I think language is so important, is because people make these I am statements. I am this type of person. I am a Christian. I am organized. I am a control freak. I'm a whatever. And they give themselves these labels. And because we want to be consistent, right? Consistent commitment, consistency bias. Like we want to appear as people who are the same because it's deemed a good quality. No one likes people who are changing and erratic because they're hard to trust.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we have to be willing to change when conditions change. Like I
Yeah,
had different assumptions
I guess that's true.
when I started a business versus what I have now, and some of those were disproven, and so I had to change the way I acted in order to get to where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so all that to say, you asked, halfway through the pod, if Jesus came on earth, what would you do? I'd be like, bow and worship. If the creator of the universe came down, of course I would, right? The difficulty that I've had was simply believing that it happened, not that. And when we ask again on that continuum,
But if you, how would you know that's the
believe?
creator of the
10%
universe?
believe? I don't think I believe enough.
I think I heard somewhere it said,
Hold the pig with Jesus.
well, it's part 2 we finna get into. But anyway, let me finish my thought. I think it says, I think I heard somewhere, I don't know if it says it in Revelations or in the Bible somewhere. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not a theologian. We keep saying that. But I think I heard somewhere and it was like, he will ascend from the sky on a white horse. And there would be trumpets in the background or horns in the background singing his descent. So, could be possible. I'm not sure. But that was George Janko and Alex Hormozi's Peace or Power. That was a good one. I really enjoyed myself. I know there was some moments where it was a little slow. Not gonna lie, it was a little slow. I had to get up, take care of some business, things of that nature. But overall, it was a good through. So, thank you for the content. Thank you for you guys tapping in and seeing like who I am. And if this is your first time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your favorite part of the reaction or what you found that was interesting in the reaction, I would love to hear from you guys, because this community is a community that's based off of wholesomeness. Be wholesome. You can do anything. You can say you can do anything. Just be wholesome. Be wholesome. Extend your hand when somebody wants you to extend their hand to save them. If you have the power to save them. Only if you have the power to save them. Back to the title, Peace or Power. Only if you have the power to save them, extend your hand. If you is detrimenting your life and putting your life in danger over somebody else, you're either 1, stupid, or 2, brave. But let's consider safety first. Safety first is always what it's worth. Safety first is always what it's worth. So, once again, this is Joshua with Relate with JRL, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.